why does prosperity magic seem to work for some, yet not for others? Frequently, the answer is not found in the ritual itself. It's found in what I call your inner financial infrastructure. You cannot build a temple of abundance upon a foundation of scarcity. So today we're going to explore what I consider to be the 5 essential pillars of prosperity. The first pillar is the law of vibration. Everything in this universe is in motion. Thoughts move, feelings move, all so-called dead matter is still moving. Everything has vibration. Prosperity carries a recognizable inner state. It is accompanied by ease, gratitude, receptivity, confidence, and flow. If you approach a money ritual from desperation, anxiety, or deep inner neediness, you may unknowingly be reinforcing this very state of lack that you're trying to rise beyond. In magical work, we aren't trying to force reality. We are learning to align ourselves with spiritual law, tune ourselves to spiritual law. So rather than dwelling in an I need perspective, we have to begin practicing the deeper consciousness of I receive. One beautiful aid in this work can be found in the Hebrew letter He. This represents breath. The sacred breath is associated with life, spirit, and divine expression. As you inhale, quietly rest in the feeling of I have, I receive, I am supported. As you exhale, let go of any striving, grasping, or inner tension. Do your best to find this state even for a few moments every day where you can just remain in this feeling of prosperity, and you can achieve this through the breath. The goal in just doing this for a couple minutes a day is to start to experience this feeling of prosperity as being natural rather than unusual. Most of us are used to always feeling a sense of panic or upset, striving, grasping, worry. And so this idea of releasing and feeling that we have, that we receive, and that we are supported, even if it's only a fleeting moment of that, doing it on a regular basis helps to normalize that experience for you. So that's the first pillar. The law of vibration is something that we tune into by relaxing and feeling taken care of, feeling like we have what we need. And the best way to do that is by breathing and letting go of tension, letting go of worry, even if for only a few minutes at a time. Doing it on a regular basis starts to recalibrate your vibration to a vibration of prosperity. The second pillar is the mental shield. Your deep mind, what many people call the subconscious mind, is your friend. But it can seem like your deep mind is your enemy if it's not giving you what you want. It's being loyal to you. Its purpose is to preserve what's familiar and keep you within the bounds of what it considers to be safe. When someone suddenly says, I am wealthy, while their deeper conditioning still expects struggle, resistance, poverty, the deep mind rejects it. And this is why when we're not getting what we want from the deep mind, we can't get it by pushing back against that shield, because that shield is held in place by tension. So the more we fight against it, the more we reinforce it. We have to lower the shield. And the only way to lower the shield is through relaxation. And this is one of the deeper purposes of relaxation in magical practice. When the body becomes still, the mind becomes receptive. When the mind is receptive and the body is still, deeper impressions can begin to take root. We can actually plant the seeds of what we desire successfully and get what we want. This is one reason we work with trance, visualization, and incantation. When we create reality through visualization and incantation, if we do it within the context of that lowered mental shield, that witch's trance, the thought forms we are creating become implanted in the deep mind and start to take root and become what we desire. But if we're tense and we're fighting against our reality, then nothing happens. No matter how well you visualize, no matter how many times you repeat an affirmation, it won't matter until you can do it within the context of that lowered mental shield, which can only be established through relaxation and trance. This witch's trance is not escapism, it's receptivity. It's the sacred threshold where the deep mind becomes open to your suggestions, to your imagery, and to your patterning. And this is where magical work begins to move beyond the surface mind and into becoming tangible reality for us. The third pillar is the Law of Purification, or sometimes called the Law of Vacuum. Nature abhors a vacuum. That's a fundamental principle. If something new is to enter your life, often space must first be created for it. This is why purification must be both internal and external. Internally, purification begins with release. Often, release is established through forgiveness and letting go of resentment and any feeling of burden, unfinished emotional debts. I remember a season in my own life when I was struggling financially, and I realized I was still carrying deep resentment toward a former associate. When I consciously worked a ritual of release and truly forgave that debt in my own heart, everything shifted for me. Within days, I unexpectedly received a check for $3,000, which was pretty close to the exact amount that I needed at the time. Now, I'm not suggesting that forgiveness is some sort of vending machine, but I am saying that inner clearing often changes the conditions through which prosperity can move. So the law of purification creates that inner space where we can receive what it is that we desire. And when that space is made, divine substance can move freely to fill it. This often applies to externals as well. Prosperity often thrives where there is sacred readiness. So get things cleaned, get things in order, bring order wherever you can. Let your outer world begin to reflect an inner receptivity. The good news about this is you don't need to be perfect at it. Even a small act of putting something in order is a powerful magical gesture. The fourth pillar is the law of compensation. This is the law of giving and receiving, action and receptivity. It's the sacred flow. Think of your hands. If your hands are clenched tightly into fists, they cannot receive. This is one of the deeper mystical principles behind tithing. At its heart, it's not about money, it's about energy. It's the gesture of the open palm. When you give freely, you are in a posture to receive freely. Giving freely affirms that life is meant to flow through you. You become a channel, not a reservoir. A beautiful meditation here is on the Hebrew letter Yud, that small sacred point of light, often seen as the seed of all potential. It reminds us that even a small act can initiate great increase. The mystical number 10 has long carried symbolism of increase. You might think of the 1 as the rod and the 0 as the chalice. Together they form 10, a symbol of expansion, God and goddess, procreation, fertility. The tithe has been directed toward the people, places, or works that nourish spiritual life. Of course, generosity can be expressed in many, many ways, but the principle remains the same. Open-handedness supports flow. And like any sacred discipline, it's something that's observed over time. Experiment with tithing, but experiment gently. Observe honestly and let experience become your teacher. When you tithe, make sure you give it a good 3 months to start seeing the benefits of it, just like you would with an exercise regime. It's not meant to create overnight changes. It's meant to condition you for wealth. The fifth pillar is the law of mentalism. Your words are never casual. They are always declarations. We understand the power of divine names, sacred speech, and spoken authority. When someone repeatedly says, "I can't afford that," or "I'm always broke," or "nothing ever works for me," they are unknowingly reinforcing a ritual of limitation for themselves. Speech carries pattern, and it shapes expectation. Speech influences our deep mind. It's not possible to monitor all of our thoughts, but we can monitor our speech. One simple practice I teach is called the cancel technique. If you catch yourself dwelling on some sort of limited statement, such as "I can't afford that," immediately say "cancel" and replace it with a truer, more constructive declaration of what you do want. Instead of "I can't afford that," you might say "cancel. I choose not to buy that at this time." Say it's a car. You catch yourself saying, "I could never afford that car." Say "cancel. That car is a thought in divine mind, and I accept it." So when you accept it, you're accepting the possibility that you can have it. And then it's up to you whether or not that is something that you want to do a spell about. But this is one of the ways that you start to expand your sphere of influence, is by monitoring your speech and canceling out all of those limited speech patterns that you give yourself and instituting a new pattern each time. One of the divine names to contemplate here is in Hebrew, Eheye Asher Eheye. And in English, we say, "I am that I am." And "I am that I am" is a name of God. And this sacred declaration reminds us that this divine identity is within us. And that is divine reality for us. So every time you say "I am," you're invoking the infinite. And you're attaching yourself to the creative force, to whatever follows. So be mindful to what you attach to the phrase "I am" or "I'm." Because sacred speech matters. It's never insignificant. And the more you start to take charge of your speech, the more you empower your speech to make changes for you. These 5 pillars of prosperity aren't mere theories. They are part of the deeper infrastructure of a life aligned with prosperity, aligned with sacred order, and aligned with flow, what I often call Shekinah flow, or divine substance. Ask yourself, which pillar in my life needs strengthening? As you build this inner temple, build it strongly, and the outer manifestations have a clearer path to follow that way. Just as a recap, our pillars of prosperity are the pillar of vibration, the pillar of the mental shield, the pillar of the law of purification, the pillar of the law of compensation, and the pillar of the law of mentalism. You can gently and easily become attuned to the energy that these pillars of prosperity encompass within yourself and start turning up the prosperity in your life significantly in a very short time. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Until next time, blessed be.